The private jet had landed only 20 minutes ago, but the mood at the hangar was already tense. Daniel Reed wiped grease from his hands onto a worn shop rag and leaned deeper into the open engine housing. He had spent 15 years working on aircraft engines, small prop planes, charter jets, even retired military turbines. He knew the sound of a healthy engine the way a musician knows a perfect note. This one was wrong. Behind him, expensive shoes clicked sharply against the concrete floor. "So," a cold voice said, "you're the mechanic they called?" Daniel straightened and turned. The man standing there wore a tailored charcoal suit that probably cost more than Daniel's monthly rent. His posture screamed authority. His expression carried something worse, disdain. "I'm Daniel," he said calmly. "I've been inspecting the engine." The man barely acknowledged him. "Victor Lang, CEO of Lang Aeronautics. That jet needs to be airborne in 2 hours." Daniel nodded. "It won't be." Silence. Victor gave a short laugh as if he had heard a joke. "Excuse me? There's internal turbine damage," Daniel said, "likely from metal fatigue. If this flies now, the engine could fail mid-air." Victor crossed his arms. "And you figured that out from looking at it for 15 minutes? From the vibration pattern, the sound on shutdown, and the scoring near the compressor blades?" Victor smirked. "Interesting, you don't exactly look like an aerospace engineer." Daniel glanced at his flannel shirt, torn sleeve, oil-stained jeans. "No," he said, "I'm a mechanic." Victor stepped closer. "Right, a mechanic." His gaze sharpened. "You know what I think? I think you're stalling so this company can charge me more." Daniel felt irritation rise but kept his voice steady. "I'm telling you what keeps people alive." Victor chuckled again. "Spare me the heroic speech. You're just a single dad fixing machines in a hangar." The words landed harder than Victor knew. Daniel thought of his 8-year-old daughter waiting at home, probably finishing homework at the kitchen table. He returned to the engine without responding. As he reached inside to point at the damaged section, his sleeve pulled back, revealing the faded tattoo on his forearm. Victor's mocking expression vanished instantly. Victor's eyes locked onto the tattoo as if the world around him had gone silent. The arrogance in his face drained so quickly that Daniel noticed it immediately. "What?" Daniel asked, pulling his arm back slightly. Victor didn't answer at first. He stared at the faded ink, a detailed outline of a vintage fighter plane with a small set of initials beneath it, ER. His voice came out quieter than before. "Where did you get that tattoo?" Daniel frowned. The sudden change in tone felt strange. "Why?" Victor swallowed. "Just answer me." Daniel hesitated, then looked back at the engine. "It belonged to my father." Victor's jaw tightened. "That plane," he said slowly. "I know that symbol." Daniel turned fully toward him now. "Most people don't." Victor stepped closer, no trace of mockery left. "Your father's name, was it Ethan Reed?" For the first time, Daniel's composure shifted. "How do you know that?" Victor looked shaken. "When I was 12, my father almost died in a crash over Colorado." His voice carried something raw now. "The aircraft lost pressure. One engine failed. Fire warning came on." Daniel said nothing. There was a pilot on board who kept everyone calm. He manually stabilized the aircraft and made an emergency landing on terrain no one thought survivable. Daniel's breathing slowed. Victor continued, almost speaking to himself. "That pilot had that exact tattoo." A long silence stretched between them. Daniel finally spoke. "He got that tattoo after leaving the Air Force." Victor stared. "My father never talked much about what happened in service." Victor's eyes lowered. "My father talked about him for years." Daniel felt something heavy shift inside him. The same man who had mocked him minutes earlier now looked like someone confronting a memory he had buried. Victor asked softly, "Ethan Reed, he's still alive?" Daniel's expression changed. Pain moved across his face, quiet but visible. "No?" Victor's shoulders fell. Daniel looked at the tattoo and rubbed the faded lines with his thumb. "He died 6 years ago," Victor whispered, almost like an apology to the air. "I should have recognized it sooner." Victor stood motionless, his polished confidence gone. The hangar felt different now, quieter, heavier. Even the nearby ground crews seemed to sense something had shifted. Daniel returned to the engine, but his hands no longer moved with the same rhythm. Old memories had surfaced, and they were difficult to push back down. Victor broke the silence. Your father saved 31 people that day. Daniel paused. He never told me numbers. Victor gave a faint, almost bitter smile. That sounds like him. Daniel looked at him. You knew him? No, Victor said. Not personally, but my father did. He exhaled slowly. After the crash, my father changed. Daniel said nothing. He used to believe success made a man important. Money, titles, power. Victor glanced down at his expensive watch, almost ashamed of it now. Then he met your father during recovery. And? Victor's voice softened. He told me something I hated hearing when I was younger. He swallowed. He said the bravest man he had ever met wore worn-out boots and refused to be called a hero. Daniel almost smiled. That sounded exactly like Ethan Reed. Victor continued. My father tried to offer him money, a lot of it. Daniel already knew the answer. He refused. Victor nodded. He said, if you want to repay me, treat people with dignity, especially the ones society overlooks. The words landed like a punch. Victor stopped speaking. Because both men knew what had happened earlier, mocking the mechanic, judging the clothes, assuming ignorance. Victor had done exactly what his father warned him against. His voice dropped lower. I failed him. Daniel studied him carefully. No, he said after a moment, you failed yourself. Victor looked up. Daniel wiped grease from his hands. My dad taught me something too. What? He said character isn't revealed when you're respected. Daniel met his eyes. It's revealed when you think someone has nothing to offer you. Victor went still. For the first time in years, no boardroom answer came to him. No defense, no excuse, only truth. And it hurt. Victor remained silent for several seconds. Then, without a word, he removed his suit jacket and placed it over a nearby toolbox. The gesture was small, but to Daniel it meant something. The CEO, who had entered the hangar full of ego, was gone. In his place stood just a man. I owe you an apology, Victor said. Daniel crossed his arms but listened. I judged you in less than a minute. Victor's voice was steady but stripped of pride. Your clothes, your job, your circumstances. I saw a mechanic and assumed I knew your worth. Daniel said nothing. Victor continued, and I used your being a single father as an insult. Shame crossed his face. That was beneath me. The apology felt real, not polished, not corporate. Daniel looked toward the engine. My daughter doesn't care if I wear oil-stained jeans, he said quietly. She cares that I come home every night. Victor lowered his gaze. That's something I understand now more than I used to. Daniel glanced at him. Do you? Victor gave a tired smile. I built companies, bought jets, won awards. He paused. And somehow convinced myself success gave me permission to look down on people. The honesty surprised even him. Daniel finally relaxed his shoulders. Most people don't realize arrogance is expensive, he said. Victor frowned slightly. Expensive? It costs relationships, trust, respect. Daniel wiped his hands with the rag. Sometimes you don't notice the bill until years later. Victor absorbed the words. Then he looked at the damaged turbine. So, can it be fixed? Daniel nodded. Yes, but not today. Victor let out a short laugh, this time without sarcasm. Fair. He extended his hand. Daniel studied it for a moment, then shook it. Firm, equal. No special treatment, Daniel said. Victor smiled. Wouldn't dare. As Daniel turned back to the engine, Victor noticed the tattoo once more. Not as ink, as inheritance. Some legacies aren't passed through wealth, titles, or corporations. They live in values. And in that hangar, Victor finally understood what Ethan Reed had known all along. The strongest engines are not built from metal. They are built from character.